Welcome to REI University with Chris Merz, your premier destination for real estate investing insights. Join us as we chat with industry guests about their journey to success, highlighting the highs and lows of their real estate ventures. Get ready to learn from the pros and take your investing game to the next level. So I want to bring up my good friend that I've known, 11 years now, crazy. That amazing person, father, friend, husband, creative, Burning Man host. I could keep going, but anyways, without further ado, I want to bring up Paul. Thanks for coming, dude. Yeah. Okay. Come grab a seat. Put on the mic.
I was impressed with your like person logo, like Chris Merz, realtor. I was like, oh, I should.
Yeah, my slogan's America's favorite realtor. So
give myself some sort of title.
Okay, so for those that don't know, we are recording a podcast up here. So please wait for your questions till the end. We'll open up to everyone.
Check.
All right.
Check.
That's good. Yep. You're good. Great. Cool. You're groovy, man. You're groovy. All right, Paul. Thank you for coming to REI University.
Happy to be here.
Portland REI. Really excited to have you here, man. Known you now for 10 plus years. I know you as this amazing creative and honestly person that I look up to a lot, right?
That's very kind.
And someone that's done very well in business and is an amazing father. But before all that, who is Paul?
Who's Paul? Let's see. I feel like an artist. And I usually find myself as like the translator between art and business. My whole life I've lived in that lane, connecting those two things. Because artists are bad at business, generally speaking, and business people are mean to artists. So I live in the middle.
Yeah.
That's been my journey. Not all business people are mean to artists, but generally speaking.
Right. Yeah. They're stereotyped for a reason.
They're very easy to take advantage of, and unfortunately, that happens a lot. So they could use an advocate. So I tend to be that person. So
where were you born?
Fremont, California. Grew up in the Bay Area. I started playing drums when I was very little, and my first gig was at a nightclub in San Francisco when I was 14 years old, and I lit my drums on fire to like really make a big impact.
Did you tell them you were doing this?
No. And so I came out into the industry with a bang.
What happened at this?
Well, I light all the cymbals on fire.
Okay.
And I stole my sister's Aquanet, If you remember what was going on back in the day, my sister had this like massive hair, And so I stole her Aquanet. And I sprayed all my cymbals and lit them on fire. And then when you hit a cymbal, it vibrates and the fire goes out. It looks like magic, So it didn't like stay on fire.
That's good.
Yeah.
And the sprinklers didn't go off or anything?
No.
Okay,
no.
All right.
And everyone had a story to tell about our band, So I've always been into like performing and writing music and doing art stuff.
Okay.
So it all started in the Bay Area. Then I went to the University of Oregon.
Well, hold on. Where did the music start? Like, at what point did you say, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing. I want to dive into music"?
In grade school, we had one of those rallies, and a bunch of musicians came, and they were like, "This is a saxophone, and this is a trumpet." And when the drummer brought out this like beautiful blue snare drum with like little sparkles in it, and he's like, and he started hitting the drums. I was like, that. And so I fell in love with the drums like in that moment, and it's been, a love affair ever since.
Okay. And you just jumped in the drums immediately. You were like, Mom, Dad, please buy me a drum set.
Yeah, and so for my 10th birthday, I got permission to buy a drum set. And I was like, okay, so where's the drum set? And they're like, you have permission to buy one. And I was like, okay.
So you had to go out and make the money?
Yeah, so I mowed lawns, and I made, my parents probably thought I was selling drugs. I had all this cash. It took me about a month and a half. But I mowed lawns and washed anything in my neighborhood. And I walked around with a cutout of a Pearl Export Ferrari red drum set. And I was like, hi, I'm Paul. I'm trying to buy this drum set. Is there anything I can do around the house for you to earn a little bit of money? And people are like, okay.
That's so good.
And so that was my first entrepreneurial venture, was what I thought was very amazing, but I found out later it was a really bad drum set. But it was awesome to me. It was my first thing.
Well, that's almost like your first vision board, almost, kind of
Yeah,
like printing this thing out, and you're like, I'm gonna make it happen.
And my mom took me to Guitar Center, and I could just imagine what she was thinking. She's like, God damn it, he actually came up with the money. They were proud of me to a certain point. They just wanted me to buy something different, But when I went to Guitar Center with my huge stack of cash, and I bought my red drum set, and that's when I discovered that it didn't come with any of the hardware.
Oh.
So I had to take another few weeks to buy like a pedal and sticks. And like,
Oh, you got the drum set, but you didn't have sticks?
I had sticks. I didn't have like the stands for the cymbals, but I had the cymbals were on the floor. I'm just like, damn. Instruments are expensive,
That's funny.
So.
Siblings?
I have 2 sisters and a half brother.
Okay. Yeah. Older, younger?
I'm the baby.
Okay. What's the age gap between the 4 of you?
5, 10, and a lot more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So, I mean, that's 5 and 10. That's a pretty big age gap.
Really weird age gap for kids.
Yeah.
Being a parent now, I would never do that. It
Right.
seems insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was that growing up in the house with siblings much older?
My siblings are awesome.
Yeah.
They're great.
Yeah. Nice.
It's good.
Awesome. And in the Bay Area, how was that growing up?
I love being in the Bay, especially from a music perspective, because I got to be around so many amazing artists and I got to see the first Day on the Green, with Metallica and Guns N' Roses, and when they destroyed the entire stadium. I just saw lots of really cool stuff. And it's an incredible place to be for music, so.
Well, Day on the Green, I'm not familiar. Tell me.
So that's when, so it's a Metallica and Guns N' Roses show, and
that's an awesome duo, first of all.
at the A's ballpark, right? And that was before they knew they shouldn't let people like actually go on the grass, because someone picked up a piece of grass and was like, and then you fast forward like 30 minutes, and I had to retreat up to the stands, and you couldn't see the stage because there was so much mud flying in the air.
Oh, God.
It was awesome. Yeah. This was the last time that you got to be on the grass.
Oh.
Before they covered the grass. But
Right on.
yeah, I went to a school called Bellarmine in San Jose.
Mm-hmm.
It changed my life.
How so?
The Jesuit mindset there.
And that was elementary, middle school, high school?
No, that was just high school.
Okay.
It's college prep, and I was, very fortunate to be able to go there, and they just basically taught me I could do anything if I set my mind to it.
Yeah.
It's a great school.
Nice. I went to Jesuit high school, so yeah.
It's awesome. Jesuits are great.
They are.
Yeah, they tolerated me being an atheist at a Jesuit school too, which was also kind of nice.
Carpe diem.
Yeah.
Seize the day.
Yeah. So.
It's great. I'm interested. How was being an atheist work at a Jesuit, a Catholic school?
They challenged my perspective. I challenged theirs.
Yeah. And religion classes are required.
Yeah, and I have just a deep curiosity in general, so
yeah,
I was curious to learn about lots of religions, and I was very respectful of their faith, and so
Yeah.
it was very, and I thought that was awesome that they didn't, other me for
Right.
having a different idea.
Rad.
It's really nice.
And then after Bellarmine, where'd you go?
I went to the University of Oregon.
Go Ducks.
Go Ducks, yeah. And joined the marching band. And
Drums.
yep, I had long hair. Yeah, I played drums in the marching band. Got to go around with the football team and everything, and joined a fraternity. Played in bands. Was in the School of Music. So I double majored in music and minored in business.
Awesome.
Yep.
And at this point, have you been in multiple bands up to that point? Because you said at 14
I had
you
been
were
in a lot of bands.
Okay.
In like many bands at once. My poor parents, they were taking me to clubs and shows when I was a kid, and I shouldn't have been in those places, but I made it through. Yeah. So let's see. So I was at the School of Music. I started my first company, Rumblefish, in my dorm room at the U of O, and that was writing music for movies. I studied orchestral music composition and recording technology, so I was writing music for films, really small films, and the orchestra had to play any music that the composers wrote. Like they had to do it, and I would record with the school gear, and I had anywhere from a 50 to 70 piece orchestra that was playing my music, and I'd record that, and then I'd sell it to a movie to pay for school.
Whoa.
So that became like my little business, and that was going awesome until it started going really, really well, and then I got kicked out of the music school for licensing my music homework to TV commercials. So I got expelled.
For licensing your homework to TV commercials.
My music composition teacher was correcting my homework, and the homework he was correcting came on the TV. And he's like, what? So he called me in his office. He's like, Paul, we got to talk about plagiarism, I'm like, okay. He's like, why are you stealing the music off the TV? Why don't you just write it yourself? Because one of the first things you learn in music school is being able to hear something and transpose it, right? So he thought I was just sitting at home, drinking a beer, listening to the commercials and writing my homework down. I was like, no, I made $500 on that commercial, and he didn't like that, and so that ended in me getting expelled from the music school. So I went to the law school and asked him if I could audit the copyright classes so I could defend myself against the music school.
Oh.
And they let me take a bunch of law classes. As long as I did better than 50% of the students, and got good grades basically, they liked my case against the music school. So then I defended myself against the music school. I got back in.
Whoa.
And then I told one of the professors to go F themselves because they were trying to, I was kind of more of a hothead back then.
Yeah.
And so they kicked me back out of the music school. And then I went to the business school. And the dean of the School of Business, Phil Romero, bless his heart, he's like, you're an entrepreneur. I'm giving you a grant, and you're becoming a business school student. And that's how I really started to take my music licensing company, Rumblefish, and started to take off. So it's not a weird college career.
That is a wild experience.
Yeah.
How was it working through all of that, and how long of a process was that?
5 years. My mom's a principal, and she wasn't too stoked, and she's gotten lots of master's degrees. She speaks 5 languages. Wow. So she wasn't too stoked, and I was like, I'm dropping out of school to run my music company. She's totally come around, but it's 5 years, double major in music, minor in business. I was 2 classes away from graduating, and never got my degree. So
yeah,
I'm totally fine with it. I got the knowledge. That's what you need.
Yeah. That's it.
So.
And how many people actually use their degree?
I have no idea.
Very few. Very few.
That's up to them.
Yeah, true. Oh, that's a crazy college experience, man.
Yeah.
But it seems like that prepared you well for life, or going
Sure.
into business and being an entrepreneur.
Well, growing up in the music business, you get seasoned pretty quickly, you know, because people are stealing from you left and right on every deal, and the music industry is not a very fair place.
Is there anything that sticks out that you can think of?
My drums being thrown on the street by a club promoter who kicked me out, who wouldn't pay us because I wasn't 21 in a club that we sold out, you know. Every version of that. Signing a deal and someone tells you it means something, and you have you had to do it in a hurry, and the lawyer tells you, like, that's not what that means, and now that person owns your song. You know, like, it's nonstop. But that was the inspiration for my step into most of what I do now, you know. Being the fair person with the artists, and everyone making money. So.
And so, Rumblefish, you started in your dorm room. That got all the turbulence at school. Shifted from law to then business. And you then continued to run Rumblefish after?
Yeah, I ran Rumblefish
left
for
Oregon?
a while. Yeah, moved from Eugene up to Portland. Started licensing music into movies, TV shows, and video games. And that business was awesome. It went great.
Who are you working with to license that? Are you still doing the same thing? Like, you're working with artists now, and you're saying, "Hey, I'll help you." Like, tell me more.
So when we started the
mean?
business, kind of the only way that you could get your music used in a movie or a TV show or a video game is if you're with a record label, and they usually take 90% of the revenue and ownership of your copyrights. And so the unfortunately revolutionary thing we did was we said, we don't believe that anybody should own your copyrights. We believe the artist should own them. And we're not going to pay you in advance, but we'll split all the money with you 50-50. And we only eat what we kill. So if you want to sign up with us, sign up with us. And like, everybody signed up with us. We had the largest pre-licensed music catalog in the world 5 years later.
Whoa.
So it was a pretty big music licensing operation. And we built, we started licensing music in all these movies and TV shows and video games and sending half the money to the artists. And then we built this, spent millions of dollars and built this really awesome music licensing platform way too early. And we launched it, and you could hear the wind howl through it. It was a total failure. Nobody would license music online yet. But fortunately, we stuck with that long enough so that YouTube showed up. And they said, hey, we need to license music for our videos. And we were one of the first companies to help YouTube monetize videos that had music in it, which turned out to be a really good idea. Yeah, that's what helped us really scale, and we eventually sold that company to private equity.
Is it still running today?
Yeah.
Rumblefish?
Yeah.
Wow. What was your exit on that, if you don't mind me asking?
Like how much money?
Yeah.
The company sold for around $30 million.
It's a pretty good exit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you excited about that?
I was pretty stoked.
Yeah, I would be. I would be. How many years from inception to sale was that?
18 years, 6 months.
Oh, you got that down.
Yeah. I looked it up one day. I was like, damn, did I run that company for 150 years? But yeah, it was a long time.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
That's your little baby for 18 years.
That was the first time. No, we were just talking about this. Like, I had to have a lot of conflict happen before I could be okay with letting go of that being my identity, So I had to get ready to sell that to kind of expand my life.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, because I was stuck,
Because you've been doing that for almost 2 decades.
Yep.
And your entire identity is all wrapped up in Rumblefish.
Yep, it was, yeah.
And how did you get over that? Tell me more.
I got in a fight with a big shareholder, and my board fired me. And then I was the majority shareholder, so I fired the board. And then we got into a big long thing, and then I came back. I was like, what the fuck am I doing with this thing? Let's sell it.
Yeah.
And so I decided to sell it. But in the 9 months when I was gone, I was like crying in my beer down at my parents' place, like, who am I? You know?
Yeah.
If I did this thing, and especially if it didn't work out, then, what am I doing? Because I'm a terrible employee. I've been fired 12 times from different jobs. So I knew I couldn't go work for somebody else. So I had to like start another thing, so, yeah.
And what helped you make that identity shift? Where was like the...
Getting fired by the board.
That's what it was.
Well, it's just kind of like, what am I doing here? Like, do I have a reason I'm doing this? Mm-hmm. Is it for money? Is it for vanity? So I realized it was for vanity. I was like, okay, well, is that a good idea?
Right. Yeah.
So I was like, maybe I should make some money so I could do other things too. I want to start a family. I want to do other stuff. And so sold the company basically the same month that I got married, which is kind of a weird.
Oh, really?
Thing.
So when was it that you met your wife, Sarah?
When we meet?
Yeah, when did you guys meet?
I don't know when we met.
we
like 20. Oh God, I don't know. 2009, 10.
did you meet in college?
No, we met
After college.
She was on a date with my friend, and it didn't go well. And but it went well for me.
Whoa! Tell us more about this. Hold on.
We were snowboarding.
It's hilarious.
We were snowboarding. She'd had enough of him, and got down to the lift line, and she's like, "Oh, you go ahead and go up," And so I came down. I was like, "Hey, what's up?" And so we got in the lift together, and it was a powder day, and then she says, "So, what's going on?
What's your deal?"
Yeah, well, who are you? Because we were all in the same friend group. Yeah. And I was like, "Have you ever sang karaoke before?" And she's like, "What's karaoke?" I'm like, on a powder day when everyone's stoked, you just sing to the people going down the mountain, And I didn't know at the time, but she was like a karaoke master. She
really?
dresses up and does professional karaoke.
Oh my
She's
gosh.
like, "Oh really? Tell me more." And so she says, "Okay, we'll sing a song." And so, like a total jackass, the first song I could think of was, "Look at this stuff, isn't it neat? Wouldn't it make my collection complete?" So I started singing The Little Mermaid. I'm like, I don't know why, but and then I guess that really convinced her to marry me. So 3 kids later, yeah.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
So how many years did you guys date until you got married?
I don't know, like a few.
Okay. Yeah. And how old are your kids now?
6, 6, and 9. Yep, twin boys, a girl.
Twin boys.
Yep.
How was hearing about that news?
I was stoked and my wife cried. I actually wished at the Oregon eclipse for twins during the eclipse because she told me to wish for something really big, and she said she only wanted to have 2 kids and I wanted 3, so I wished for twins during the eclipse, and a week later we got pregnant with twins, and I told her that story, and she's like, "You did this to me." So yeah.
I was at that festival. That was a good one.
Yeah.
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 That's funny. So let's pedal back and we'll get into family a little bit more. I always like talking about that. So you sell Rumblefish, and you had already met Sarah at this point? Or no? Okay. So you guys have been together, married at this point?
We got married the month that we sold the company.
Right, you said that. Now what? Now what's Paul doing? Paul's married, has a chunk of change.
Yeah, so since it took me 150 years to sell the first business, I figured I could get into other businesses and help other people. So I started to get into, and along the way I started investing in other companies. And so there's a guitar pedal business in Portland called Spaceman Effects. We took space parts and made pedals for rock stars. The things at the end of the stage that they step on to make the instruments sound cool. helped co-found that business. I co-founded an event listing business it's called Do PDX now. If you want to find out like what's going on in the city. Company called 503 that then turned into Joyful, which is a big event business. So, doing large scale events, hiring big artists to come in and play events for companies. So started getting into lots of different businesses. And then that's when I started buying real estate.
Got it. So you're dabbling in events and music, it seems like.
Events, music, and then just starting to get into single family. And then I started to get into some land deals, RV parks, come in as an LP in multifamily.
Right. Yeah. And how are you getting connected with these people? Because now you're more or less, you're like, hey, I don't want to be an active investor, but I've got some money to invest. Is that what kind of brought you into it, or what?
Yeah, what
was it that sparked that?
I'm a member of YPO, and I was going through the YPO network.
What's YPO?
Young Presidents Organization.
Okay.
So it's CEOs of companies that there's 22,000 members worldwide, I think, ish, and there's a local chapter, and you get together once a month with your group, and it's like your little board of directors.
Yeah.
You just help each other, succeed, hold each other accountable.
Cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a great group.
So you joined that, and you got then connected with some other people in the real estate space?
Yeah, that's how I got connected to real estate deals, and that's where the deal flow came for that.
Got it. And is that then what kind of sparked your interest in real estate, of like meeting the other people and saying, oh, I'll give this a try?
What sparked my interest in real estate is the fact that it feels a lot like music royalties. Music royalties, musicians call it mailbox money, because you do something with the song once, it does really well, then you get checks in the mail all the time that you don't need to work for. And so I was like, since I sold Rumblefish, I'm like, well, now I sold all my royalties, where's my mailbox money? And so I was looking for a business that fit that profile, and real estate fits great, and is more tax advantaged, like way more tax advantaged. So.
Right. Just a little bit.
I mean, it's really unfair. So, yeah.
Okay. So was there one thing that really excited you as you're investing in these different asset classes?
I was trying different things to see just trying to learn. So that's why I like land deals, multifamily, RV park, single families, trying to like figure out what I liked.
Yeah. And none stuck out. It was just like, oh, these are kind of cool. I like this for.
Well, it was, it is very side hustle-y for me because I wasn't operating much of it really. And so I was focusing on the businesses I was operating.
Yeah.
But.
And at this point, you and Sarah are starting to talk about having kids.
Yeah. Yeah, we moved to Vancouver, Washington, and had our daughter, and then started to buy more single family in Vancouver.
Got it. Because you were living in Portland for a
I
while.
was living in Portland, and then moved to
Shifted to Vancouver.
Yep.
Why to Vancouver?
More land, and I moved there 13 months before I sold my business for tax benefits.
Yep. Makes sense. Can you dive into that a little bit more? Why that makes sense when you sell a business?
You pay less taxes.
In that state? In the state of Washington?
In the state of Washington versus the state of Oregon. Yeah.
What is that tax called?
Well, there's a bunch of them. I mean, but like there's like cap gains and then income tax.
Right.
There's a benefit on that side.
Yeah.
The transaction was in 2013, so
yeah,
I don't exactly remember all the details, but
yeah, I mean, I still know people do that to this day. I have a buddy that just did it last year. It's like, selling my business, I'm moving to Washington. It's like, okay.
Or they move to Florida or Nevada or
Yeah. Okay.
Wyoming.
And was that your decision, or was that through YPO of like, hey, Paul, you should look into this?
When I came back to run the business, and I gave myself 3 years to sell it, I just put the plan together, and that was just part of the plan.
Nice.
Yeah.
So Sarah, let's talk a little bit more about her. Your wife.
Mm-hmm.
Where's she from?
Oh, East Coast.
Okay.
Yeah, she's from the East Coast, from Agawam, Massachusetts.
Nice.
Which is the Mawaga Native American tribe, spelled backwards, for anybody who's curious about that. It's kind of weird. And moved to Tahoe.
Is she in like part of the
Is she Native American?
She's
not.
Thank you.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
But then she moved to become a ski bum in
Brad.
in Lake Tahoe. Yeah, and she's a private chef. And then
cool.
she started doing food for movies up in Portland, and we met on her date with my friend.
So she's a chef.
Yeah, it's awesome to have a chef wife.
Yeah, that's killer. Dude, you married up.
Well, yeah, unless you try and cook them something, it's very difficult.
Yeah. Here's my mac and cheese. What do you think?
Yeah, the amount of times I feel like, yeah, it's good. Yeah. It's good. It's often. Yeah.
Oh, that's rad.
So,
and you have a big passion for skiing.
Snowboarding. Yeah, I'm snowboarder.
Right. Yeah. Big passion for snowboarding. She has a big passion for skiing, and so that kind of that was something.
Kids
that
are all skiing,
you guys.
so we're a mountain family.
And you guys spend quite a bit of time up at Mount Hood in the winters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so along this path, you then said your main I would assume then kind of your focus shifted from these 3 businesses that you're working on to now focusing more on Joyful, which I saw was a big focus of yours in the past few years.
Yep.
Tell me more about that.
So Joyful is a company that helps companies build their culture. So we went into large businesses like Dutch Bros is a big client, Daimler is a big client, and to help them build a healthy business culture. So think companies spend a lot of money marketing their products to customers. Think about marketing your culture to your team to improve retention and essentially maximize the happiness and productivity of your team. So it was a creative agency that focused on culture building, and it's doing great. Yeah. So help get that moving, and then jumped into Metrognome.
We'll get there. We will get there.
Yeah.
So you enjoyed this part because this then allows your creativity to flow, right? The kind of the marketing aspect of that.
Yeah.
What was it that drew you to Joyful?
I really enjoy building culture and teams. That's why I run a Burning Man camp. That's like my found family. You know, building a culture for that, building a culture for the different businesses.
Tell us more about this Burning Man camp that you run.
It's called Camp Corny. We have 25-foot tall dual unicorns that shoot 20-foot flames out of the horns as the entrance to the camp. And it's a spirit animal adoption center. We have 3,000 spirit animals, which are stuffed animals. And they're in a huge inflatable rainbow pool thing. And we help people find their spirit animal, and they adopt them, and they put them on a stick, like a dowel. And because everybody knows spirit animals eat dance, and so you have to immediately dance with the animal to secure the bond. And so we have a day club, and with big DJs playing music, and so you adopt an animal, put it on a stick, and you get to take it home with you. So that's Camp Corny. It's the silliest, weirdest, fun art project I get to do every year. Yeah.
And it's a we got the honor of going a number of years ago, and Sam and I still talk about it. We'll be back. But it's like a huge week-long, like big thing that you put together for, the week.
Yeah, it's an acre of an event, like space, day club, We have 2 40-foot shipping containers, box truck, 6 trailers. Like it's like a whole operation.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, it's super fun though.
And I mean, you plan that for months. I mean, you and a lot of help.
Yeah, we have our
group.
whole squad does
Right.
it. Yeah, we had a kickoff yesterday for this year.
Great.
Yeah.
Nice.
Super fun. If you want to burn, you're looking for a camp, let me know.
Mm-hmm. It's an awesome camp.
Do you guys take new burners?
Yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
We're usually like 30% virgins and 70% veterans.
Sweet. I never know where to send people, so thanks.
Same with Camp Corey.
Yeah. Killer. Okay, so before we get into Metronome, also, you did a couple amazing, really amazing events. The White Party, was that through
Yeah.
503
Yep.
that you did, right?
Yep. TEDx Portland for a long time. Co-founded that with David Ray and Alan Harden.
Yeah.
And then we did, lots of different big events, derby parties. The biggest one's probably Polo Noir, which was a Grammy Award-winning band, live horse polo, and Pinot Noir wine from wineries in the
That was
region.
Ben, what was his name? Totally spacing his name. Ben, who's the main artist?
Oh, man, we had like over the years, and now you made me forget it.
Oh, yeah, anyways.
I'll remember it in a minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was really fun. People dressed up and you saw the coolest hats you'd ever see in the Northwest. People in the Northwest actually have nice clothes, and they wore it to Polo Noir. We were
They
very
did?
surprised.
Well,
was cool.
and it was a really cool experience because how often do you get to see polo?
Live horse polos,
in the Pacific
amazing.
Northwest. You don't get to
Sean
see that.
Keys was,
Yeah.
him and his whole operation was awesome. So that was really fun events. And then that actually doing those big events and working with those artists and our connections in music, we started bringing big iconic artists for brands to do private shows after that. That were really fun.
So, with your connection to the music industry, is that then how you were able to pull in these huge names? Or like, how did that all kind of come together?
Yeah, you call them and you pay them.
Yeah, just what's your number?
Yeah,
kind of thing.
and you just have to know how to take care of them. It helps if you've lived in the music industry because there's just like a language that you speak.
And they just have like an assistant or a team that you call and are just like, hey, we're looking to book this. Are you interested in coming? And
It's like a whole process to book. They call them privates,
Okay.
which is a show with no ticket sales. Polo Noir was ticketed, so that's kind of a little bit of a different process.
Right. But the private events are even
Private
different,
events,
more
yeah.
different. Because you've thrown some of those as well.
Then a bunch of privates, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, those are really fun.
Any ones that stand out in your mind?
I mean, Earth, Wind, and Fire as a surprise. Walking out on stage for a tiny group of people in a tent. Eddie Vedder coming out in Grants Pass for a private event for Dutch Bros. And we told them that it was going to be a, what did we say? We actually paid a Journey cover band in the East Coast to put the date on their website. And so we told everybody, like, it's going to be this Journey cover band. They're so good. And everyone's like, oh my God. It's our 30th anniversary. Shouldn't we like put some real budget into this, And then Eddie Vedder walks out on stage, and we had Chad Smith from the Chili Peppers play drums, and Jane's Addiction's bass player, and so doing stuff like that's like,
Yeah, that's insane.
It's so fun.
Yeah. That's rad. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit more about what you're currently working on.
Yeah.
So, how did this all come about? And you've got your shirt on right now, Metronome. So tell me
Yes.
Tell us more about Metronome.
And Joyful did the brand. So Metronome, so I was looking to get into different asset classes. I really like RV parks. I wanted to get into self-storage, and because I like the metrics of it. And I was looking at self-storage deals, and then my buddy Nick calls me, who I recorded his albums on 2-inch tape like 15 years ago. He's like, I got this business, I'm doing rehearsal spaces for bands. And I had his financials and I had a self-storage deal financials on my desk at the same time. And I was looking at them and I'm like, this is kind of like self-storage. But you charge more and you make more money and nobody else is doing it. And here's self-storage that's, in many places overbuilt, oversupply, right? And so, and I just didn't feel it. I just didn't feel great about investing in self-storage. I don't have any judgment against people who do. Yeah. But in terms of like just helping people store more shit, just didn't feel like it was for me. Mm-hmm. And so I was stoked then because I'm like, oh, well, here I have something that I know a lot about. And so, and Nick had done a great job in Portland. He had 8 buildings. They were all leased, but didn't own any. So I'm like, what are you doing with these leases? Like, he's signing 10-year leases with 2 10-year options. I'm like, you're buying these buildings. Why are you doing that? He's like, well, I don't know how to scale it. And I'm like, well, I know how to scale things. So I bought into half the company and I was like, let's go buy a bunch of buildings. And instead of leasing them, and we started to do some demand analysis because back at Rumblefish, we sent royalties out all over the world. So I looked at how much royalties we were sending out, and we have everyone's zip code. So I'm like, what zip codes are we sending the most royalties to back in the day? And then I had some friends who have access to that current data. And then I looked at the competitors. I found a list of 225 competitors in the US, and only like 40 of them were actually doing anything meaningful. And there's only 5 that had more than a few locations. So I'm like, okay, so it's basically like the music version of self-storage 20 years ago. So it's a new segment, and everyone's terrified of artists, and like, we speak artists. Mm-hmm. Because artists don't really trust a lot of people either. But we are artist-owned, artist-run. So I'm like, let's scale this thing across the country. So I joined 2 years ago. And we started buying buildings.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Paul and I were working on Rama together. Paul actually did the branding for Rama. And
you see the art
in
there?
Yeah. And Paul jumped into Metronome and has been crushing it.
Yeah, it's going great.
So how have you guys scaled since you joined 2 years ago?
So we had to professionalize the operations because Nick is a great operator, but he was running our books on Google Sheets. I'm like, well, we can't get financing using Google Sheets as our accounting software. So we professionalized the operation. We branded it. It used to be called Puddletown. We changed the name to Metronome. Got some software in place and started to get everything organized to get ready to scale and start to buy our first property. Mm-hmm. Then we bought our first property on East Burnside. We got it seller financed, and so 5.75 interest rate, seller financed. It took about $20 a foot of renovation, so it's pretty cheap renovation costs, and we had it fully rented in 15 days. So stabilized in 15 days.
Ridiculous.
And then we did a cost seg on it.
How many units was that?
55.
55.
Yeah.
In 20 days.
It was like
That's crazy.
Yeah, 15-ish. Yeah. So then we cost segged it, and then after that, basically we're waiting to refinance it, but we have a 5.75 interest rate.
So can we just pause on that for a moment? A couple things that you're saying there.
Yeah.
One, I laughed because that stabilization to get 55 units rented in 20 days is insane. What would that look like in storage, or let's say storage, because that's your closest comparison.
A year?
Right.
9 months?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So we started to build like a pretty detailed door demand analysis for different cities, and so we have a door demand kind of calculator, mm-hmm. and using the royalty zip code information, and we feel like we can take it to 25 cities in 5 years. So I want to get to 5,000 doors in 5 years.
And what are you guys at right now?
A little under 500.
Okay.
So 10 exit in 5 years.
Easy.
Really fucking hard, but yeah, we're gonna do it. Yeah, we're gonna do it. Yeah.
What are the return metrics of storage? I'm just interested comparing the two. Return metrics of storage compared to this.
So storage is about $150 a foot a month. So think like a 10 by 10 is going to cost you $150 a month. On average, for a temperature-controlled self-storage across the U.S., we're charging $286, and anywhere from $286 up to $320.
And then are they temperature controlled as well?
Yeah, all of our units are, yeah, because instruments don't do great in the cold.
Got it. And do they have their own thermometers in each, or is it just like throughout the entire building?
It's just the whole facility's temp control.
But yeah, okay, got it. Nice.
Yeah, and we do month-to-month memberships. Our average length of stay on a month-to-month is 3.5 years, which is insane.
That's wild.
It's 18 months best case in self-storage. So our pitch to real estate investors is, if you love self-storage, you're going to lose your marbles over this, because it's stickier, there's no supply, there's a ton of demand, it makes more money, and so we targeted for acquisition, we're targeting office, right? Because office is the opposite of all those things.
Mm-hmm. Well, office is doing really well right now, right?
Totally. Yeah, I mean, it just depends on the type of office, right?
True.
So I think the more premium office seems to be doing well.
Yeah.
But we want small, 10 to 30,000 square foot, 1980s office that's like heavily demised and not cool. Mm-hmm. Like if it's office, break room, office, front door, we're like, this is amazing. Mm-hmm. And the brokers are like, really? You like it? You know? And we're getting seller finance deals all over the place.
And
so you have to know how to do it, but that's so we're trying to repurpose an asset into a different use.
What are the common spaces in these buildings that you guys are using?
There aren't any.
You've got bathrooms.
Well, sure, hallways, bathrooms,
okay.
Foyer. So we're experimenting with a more premium product that'll have kind of a chill area. But something you learn, just having spent my whole life in rehearsal spaces in weird places, you do not give a band a place to bring everybody after the show.
Because then it just gets destroyed.
Because it's really amazing for like a week, and then it's really destroyed.
Yeah.
So
then how are you going to go about that?
We don't have any common spaces.
Right, but you just said you're thinking about or talking
Well, for the
about
more premium. So for bands that are a little bit farther along that can afford a nicer space, we're going to do some common areas.
Give like a bigger area for them to
just
rent?
Give
or
them
what?
just like a cool space, because they're like a little bit farther along on their journey.
Got it.
You know.
And you think they won't destroy it? Fingers crossed.
Yeah. I mean, we really want to do that. It's just you don't want to play to the lowest common denominator, but also it's just more important for them to have a safe place to play really loud. And then we do lots of benefits for the artists, so discounts on equipment and learning how to master their instruments, making content for them. So we're doing a lot of stuff to help them besides just the four walls. We have insurance that we offer through a self-storage insurance provider, no deductible. If anything happens to your equipment, it's totally covered.
While it's in the building.
Yep.
Cool.
So we're trying to help them out in lots of ways beyond just the space. So the common space, I'd love to have like a performance space, but it just doesn't pencil.
Right.
And there's lots of people doing that way better than we would do it.
Yeah.
So.
What's been your biggest challenge with building, scaling Metrognome?
Explaining what the model is. Like people like, so you're doing band rehearsal studios? Like, do musicians pay the rent? And it's like, I hate that, but I also love it because it's going to get other people to not try it. But we've had, a 13-year history with the company. and we're at 100% occupancy with a 10 to 15% of total door wait list, paying $100 to be on the list. So it's like, yeah, they pay. And then if you really want to get a musician who's just made up their mind to like never pay you, to get access back to their prized guitar or drum set or whatever, and you change the lock, they're like, here's my money. That like hardly ever happens, because everyone's like, it's actually a really great group. Musicians, we have 2,000 musicians in Portland that are using our spaces. But if you really need to, you can do that. And then we flip the rooms in a day. You vacuum it, and you bring the new band in. So it's like, it's way easier than an apartment.
And you're throwing plywood on the walls, right?
OSB.
OSB.
In some of the product, that's an older version of the product, but yeah.
Because then you don't have to worry about the walls getting dinged up.
And we just want you to like mount 100 guitars, put speakers up there, like put your trippy tapestries, or just make it vibey, do your thing,
Right.
And then move out, and the next person can do that thing, and it's not drywall,
Right.
It's all nasty.
That makes sense. So your biggest challenge is explaining that. How are you getting past that?
Just showing them math, it's like, it's a great business. It's simple, all the key metrics hit. Our deals are small, so it's like, on the one hand, we don't need a lot of money, but it's like our renovation costs are anywhere from a few $100,000 up to a couple $1 million per property. So we'd prefer to work with a smaller amount of capital partners to do more deals. But right now we're just going on a deal by deal basis.
Got it. What are you guys working on right now?
We've got 3. So we bought Salem, building 10, and that is in renovation right now. It was 80% leased before we bought it, before we closed. So it's gonna.
What? Excuse me?
So we do Facebook ads in the city. When we get a building under contract, we start doing Facebook ads. It costs about $400 in Facebook ads to get it to 70% leased. It's like,
That's insane. Because there's nothing else in Salem right
there's
now.
no inventory.
Wild.
And so we're just like, that was good. So we put the word out, and as long as you're not a bad actor, the music community is very small. So if you treat them right, they treat you right. So we're just doing our best to treat everyone right. And so, that one was pre-spoken for mostly. And so now we're starting to, so that one will come online September 1. We have three other buildings under contract, one in Portland, one in Seattle, and then one in Las Vegas. And then we have like prospects for 10 more buildings.
So you guys are expanding north, Seattle, and then down to Vegas, those are 2 big markets to enter into.
And there's no shortage of office deals that fit our buy box. It's just more about, we don't want to go too fast, but we'd like to add 5 buildings this year and then jump to doing 10 a year next year.
And you told me one of these, which one is Opportunity Zone?
Salem's OZ, Portland's OZ.
Oh, 2. Exciting.
2 OZs, yeah. And it's just kind of, we know how to do the OZ thing.
And what is OZ? What does that mean? Can you
Opportunity
tell me more about
Zone, yeah, Opportunity Zone. It's designated by the local city, and it's a tax advantage way for you to invest in a neighborhood that the city feels could use some redevelopment. And if you invest 100% of the vertical value of the business, of the building, so you just take the value of the land out, then you can depreciate the building and then sell it with no depreciation recapture and no capital gains tax, 0 capital gains tax when you sell, which is like insane.
It's wild.
hard because you have a lot of paperwork to do. You have to create an opportunity zone fund. You have to create an opportunity zone business. You have to use capital gains dollars. You have to know what you're doing. There's some people I know of that I was getting advice from that did it wrong and lost all their OZ benefits, and their investors were very mad at them. So I wouldn't kind of casually mess with OZs. I've read every OZ book, and we've talked about OZ a lot, but I had a couple advisors to help me get it going. But
Yeah.
if you can pull off an OZ deal, it should be. No one's actually sold one yet because it hasn't. 10 years hasn't.
10-year horizon
Well,
hasn't
but
hit.
it feels like a really great opportunity. We wouldn't do a deal just because it's OZ, but it's just like a nice motivator.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. What has been the biggest, I don't know, launch pad or success that you felt being in with Metronome?
I wake up very happy to help artists. That I have no lack of motivation. And just having my equipment stolen out of my car, or back in the day having to go from my girlfriend's house to my buddy's house to whoever's house would let us play loud music. Just being able to walk that path and knowing how much it sucks for the artist. It just feels really good to do something where you can help people you care about and then make money at the same time.
Yeah.
And everyone feels like they got a fair shake,
That's rad.
So I think that's the biggest. There's a lot of wind in the sails for that reason for me.
Totally.
I would not be this motivated to go do self-storage deals all over the country, and I wouldn't wear my self-storage T-shirt.
I mean, it almost feels like, knowing you, that everything's aligned with your interest in real estate, your interest with music, creativity, and these two are just like creating a beautiful unicorn, and like rainbows are coming out of it and sparkles.
Fire, probably.
Yeah, probably fire too. Yeah.
Well, that's the hope. That's what I'm trying to do. Is like I just feel like when those things align, it's 1 + 1 = 100.
Yeah.
So if you actually care about what you're doing, and it makes money, then it's it should be easier and be more successful. That's the hope. That's the thesis.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's rad, dude. Really happy for you.
Well, I mean, most of the work's ahead of us, so it all feels great.
Yeah.
And we're going to learn a lot in the next couple of years. So.
Before we wrap up and open it up for other people to ask questions, I want to ask about the 4 most important people in your life. Your wife, Sarah. What do you love most about your wife, Sarah?
What do I love most about my wife?
Yeah.
Man. I mean, there's lots of things to love about Sarah.
I know.
I don't know. She's just she's magic. Yeah, she's my magic.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
What do you love? And you have Luna, Stella, and...
Luna, Stellar, and Soul.
Lunar, Stellar, and Soul. So what do you love most about Lunar?
Luna's a reader. She's a dreamer. We just started a new band. She loves chickens, and so it's a band where we record the chickens in our chicken coop, and then we sample them on a keyboard and play Sia songs. It's gonna kill.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I'm like, we're gonna get this on Spotify. She's like, let's do it. So she's
great.
rad, and she went to her first burn last year and killed it. So
That's awesome. Right on.
If you have a daughter, teach her how to use a power tool, because the joy I saw on her face when she was using an impact driver to build a Burning Man camp, I was just like, oh damn, she's really into this. It's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very cool. Oh, what do you love most about Stellar, excuse me, sorry.
He was going to be a Stella, and then he turned out to be a boy, so we call him Stellar.
Yep.
Stellar's hilarious. He's just a funny kid, and he loves music. Stellar makes everyone laugh all the time. He's the levity in the room.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. What do you love most about Soul?
Soul's the one that's going to take care of us when we're old, and no one else cares.
So
He's the kind one.
yeah, has the most compassion.
Yeah, he's super compassionate, and then he can build anything. It's crazy. Like he builds these he'll draw a picture and then turn into this whole 3D diorama thing, and then he leaves them on our bed. We come home to this really cool soul structure thing. That's beautiful. So yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
I love it.
Very grateful to have them in my life.
Hell yeah. Right on. Well, the one thing I just want to share this, the white party, through these amazing events, I don't think I've ever told you this. One of the events that he would throw is you dress up in white and you bring everything for your dinner, and hundreds of people come, and it was the one we went to the first one we went to, my girlfriend at the time, it was our second date. It was technically our first official date, right? And I took her to this. She had no idea. I just told her to dress up in white, and I brought everything. And it was in Pioneer Courthouse Square, and everyone comes, and within 15 minutes, all of a sudden there's nothing, and then there's 200 dinner parties occurring, all in this one space. And that was my really first official date with my wife.
Really?
So thank you for me being able to figure out an amazing event to wow my wife, now.
How fun.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
Paul, you are amazing. Thank you for sharing with us about your entire life, what you're working on with Metrognome. Where is the best place for people to reach out to you if they'd like to get in touch?
Just find me on LinkedIn, Paul Troiano, Troiano, or paul@metrognome.com. And it's Metrognome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Right on. Can we give Paul a round of applause?
Okay. Appreciate it. Yeah.
All right, who's got some questions for Paul? Todd.
I have 53 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just from underwriting metrics, what's our average down payment on a
15 to 20-ish%. It depends, because that's a lever that we pull for interest rate or term.
Sure.
Yeah, but
That goes into what's your metric for acquisition? Is it a cap rate? Is it a cap on cash? What are you looking at?
So we're getting in. We want to buy under $170 a foot, and then our rental cost is, it sounds ridiculous, but it's anywhere from $20 a foot to $60. And the swing is if it's heavily demised office, it's lower, and if it's an office that's an open floor plan like this, we have to demise everything. So that's the big swing. And so we want to get that all-in cost as close to $200 as possible if it bumps over. But our last building, we bought it for $88. So a foot. So we're going to be nowhere near the 200. And then to diversify our revenue against that, what we're doing now is 10% of the total doors. We're doing hourly rental. And so to give you an idea, an average revenue for a monthly rental is 300-ish, 340 something a month. An hourly, we can get up to 2,000 a month at the same door. Wow. But there's not as much demand for it. So we're updating our underwriting to, 10% of doors are hourly, 90% are monthly, and then we just want to make sure that it cash flows.
Are you operating it yourself, or do you do a third party?
We have a property management company that operates all of it.
And then what about the insurance because of the content? Is it a higher premium, or is it just normal? Do you just say, hey, I need insurance?
So we work through a self-storage insurance provider. They provide everything, and we get half the revenue. And so we look, but we had to. It was really actually very difficult to find a policy that would cover instruments. And we let artists know like they can't be collectibles because collectibles are not very insurable. But if it's just your actual instruments and they're not like really like collectible, then it covers all of that. But the no deductible thing is for an artist is just huge.
What's the premium like for a regular self-storage as opposed to that?
It's the same.
Oh, it's the same.
Same. Yeah. It's just levels of coverage. Yeah.
But do they still have the option to then say, hey, this is a really nice piece, so I'm going to pay X dollars more this month?
Yeah, you can.
Or
Not the,
whatever,
or you have to
like-
opt into the bigger plan.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. But, yeah.
So, fellow failed music major.
Nice.
Yes.
What, as someone who is considering whether or not to sell or scale more on their company, what advice would you give, and where would you go to put together like a sales deal or pitch it to other people?
What kind of business?
Midterm rental management company.
So do you know what the multiples are for that type of business?
I do, yeah.
Do you like them?
I mean, I do.
Yeah.
Pretty compelling.
Because to me, it's a very personal decision. Like start with the end in mind. I would just imagine that you've sold it for in the medium of what the multiple is for where your business is at, and then like, what are you going to do with the money? And what?
Asking me right now.
No. But like, think about what you're going to do with the cash, because the biggest rude awakening for me when my net worth was never more than $50,000 until I sold Rumblefish. So I was like all in, and so I had no idea what to do with money, and so the hardest lesson there is A, taxes, and B, it's really hard to make money with money. I mean, I know everyone's like, oh, it's easy to make money with interest and stuff, but like, it's work. It's like real work. And so, whatever number you're thinking of, lots of times entrepreneurs forget about the taxes and they forget about the work it takes to turn your money into more money. So having a plan for after is what I hear is the largest regret for selling your company. Or the lack of one, basically. And then also, just like you calculate carry cost on a property you're trying to, stabilize, like what's your carry cost until you get another source of income, and that should be part of your plan. So I would, those are things I think people usually forget the most. Yeah.
Did you say you're doing equipment leasing? Are you doing equipment leasing to the tenants that are renting the units?
So for hourly, we'll do that. For monthly, it's just an empty studio. Do whatever you like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
But the hourly will come with instruments, a base set of instruments, and there's like a standard room and then a premium room. And then we're going to start offering, like if you want to have an awesome pedal board or that guitar you'd never buy but you want to play, or an awesome keyboard or more mics, you can rent those for the session.
So those are kind of catered more to the people who are just getting into it potentially and want to dabble in it, maybe?
Not necessarily. I mean, like, we're tapped into lots of big touring acts too. Not that they'd practice in one of our spaces because lots of them are too small. But I was amazed at how, like, if you could offer a low-profile place for a band to just go play, they don't have to set up. They can just come in and work on some stuff. They'd want nice equipment.
Well, what kind of growing pain, like you're talking about going to 5,000 units, what kind of growing pains do you foresee in doing that?
There's no software for what we do.
Okay.
So we're on Yardi right now, and like, what does Yardi know? How does Yardi know how to deal with music rehearsal space? It's like it's cheap, which is awesome.
Right there.
Well, so we're building our own property management software. The good news about my history at Rumblefish is we built a lot of software, and so I know how to do that. So we have our own platform that'll do monthly, hourly, and subscriptions, and also help us manage the properties. And upgrades right now, our experience for the customer isn't amazing to pay their rent or pay their membership fees, and we don't have a way to do hourly yet. And we're going to start doing that in September, so we had to build our own platform to do it. So that's a huge undertaking, to build a whole new software stack for that. So that's hard. And then just like access to capital. I think if we needed $50 million, it would be a lot easier. But we need 500 for this one, and $1.5 million for that one, and $3 million for this one. And we have yet to put perm financing on anything. And so, because our interest rates are great with seller finance, so everyone that wants to finance us is like, have you
stabilized it yet?
taken this out yet? And we're like, we don't want to. They're like, well, call us when you do.
So you almost need to do one as just try it out, so you've got a model that's been shown to doing it.
We get the appraisal on Tuesday for our Burnside property, the one we stabilized right away, and we're just weighing the fact that should we just refi it with perm financing just so we can say we did it, even though the interest rate's worse?
Almost, yeah.
Because I think that might open up. Even if you look at the math, we're like, we could refi anytime we want if we wanted to make less money.
Yeah.
So that's just we don't have. It's amazing to me that with a 13-year track record, with a 3.5-year length of stay on a month-to-month lease, that people are like, "Are you sure this is working?" We're like, "What else do you want?" But if you don't have the takeout financing, it doesn't check the box. So that's really difficult right now. Yeah.
So let's say I'm a traveling musician and I know I'm going to be staying in, one of the cities that you use, or that you have an establishment in for 2 weeks. I'm couch surfing because I'm a musician. I would love it if my guitar lived somewhere. Do you have individual lockers so that if I wanted to rent an hour that my guitar is living there?
So we're thinking about offering lockers in the buildings where we do hourly, because some artists would just warehouse their stuff.
Yeah.
And then just come and practice. We don't know what the demand is for that.
Yeah.
We're trying to learn.
And
Yeah.
I was so often hunting down my artist, whatever.
Yeah.
And he liked to collaborate and whatever. So something like this would have been really fun for him, and I think we would have used it a lot. But
so we're
having somewhere for the instrument to live while he's, went on whatever adventure would be great.
Yeah, so what we're trying now in Salem is a secure lot to park vans or trailers. We're going to try on the next building, probably the Vegas property, to offer tour bus parking where you can plug in, dump your tanks, and have a lounge for the band.
Yeah.
And there's a couple other things we're thinking about, because we're very familiar with being on the road sucks, and getting your stuff stolen is devastating, which we've seen happen a lot. So trying to cater to that a bit, but also not get too distracted by it, because the fundamental metrics of the business are so good that we'd like to start to expand into that, but not go too crazy.
Yeah, I end up all of my friends crash pad when they come through town, but having a place where they could easily plug into the instruments, I can see them using that a lot.
Totally, yeah, that's good. It's good to hear that from someone else.
What about recording equipment? Do you guys use
We don't touch recording. I've run 3 recording studios. I do not like that business.
Okay.
Yeah. But we are starting to offer a higher quality product that you can come and do your studio in. But it's not, unless the studio is attached to a label that's funding it when it's not doing great and buying the fancy new SSL console. It's just a really hard business to pencil. But.
What's the average size of a unit?
Actually, I just figured that out. I'll tell you. One sec. The average size, we cater mostly to working musicians. It's you call it 200 something square feet maybe. Yeah.
And then how do you handle noise, if there's multiple people all practicing at the same time?
So it's rarely more than 5% of the building occupied at any one time for the monthly. Hourly is different. That's guaranteed peak hours, very occupied.
It hasn't been an issue.
Well, no, so you soundproof them differently. Because we want to balance, for the monthlies, you ask the artist, would you rather have a super soundproof room that costs 4 times as much because soundproofing is incredibly expensive? Or would you just coordinate with your neighbors and pay a lot less? They're like, I will coordinate with my neighbors. And so they more highly value, depending on where the tier of the band, a more affordable room. And so for the more affordable rooms, we do, very light soundproofing. And for the, now with the more premium stuff, we're doing very, very intense soundproofing, like that's adequate for a studio. But that's gonna be way more expensive per square foot. Yeah. And we're still, and that's still kind of a tricky demand thing, because the only supply that there is out in the country right now, generally speaking, there's some people doing some really amazing product, like one-off, but across the board, it's like people are rehearsing in really sketchy places that aren't safe, and there's no soundproofing. And like when every time we launch the product, the marker is like, will you bring your girlfriend or boyfriend to this space? Because you think it's cool enough to bring them, and will a kid wait for a lesson in the foyer? And
because people are doing lessons.
Lots of people, instructors doing lessons.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it struck me, something you said at the beginning that you were focused on with Rumblefish was making sure that the artists are treated fairly. Right?
Yeah.
That was a big kind of foundational reason for doing it in the first place.
Yeah.
And so there was probably much more variation depending on sort of where the artists were in their popularity or their career or whatever. If you look at something like a self-storage, right, for comparison, or even just to revenue rental, part of the value proposition is you've got to be able to kind of crank the rent year over year.
Uh-huh.
How do you manage to do that and stay fair to the artists who are not necessarily?
That's a really good question. We have a very, very kind of prescribed rate increase, and it's just very fair, and we don't surprise the artists. They know it comes in January. You can plan for it, but to that point, there's a lot of competitors of ours that understand there's a lack of supply, that hammer the artists for very subpar product. So, yeah. There is a big debate though about like, hey man, like I'm paying all this money and I can hear the band next door. It's like, okay, well, we can show you how much it costs to soundproof it, and they're going to pay 4 times as much and you can't hear the band. But so there's a fairness thing there. That's also why we really like looking at buying office, because we gotta, like anything, you make money on the buy. So we can get in super cheap per square foot, then we can actually get them. Like we're gonna we'll hit our number. So like we're not gonna do it at the artist's expense. It's just a bad idea, in my opinion. It's against our ethos.
Well, also on top of that, like the difference between storage and music, which you have shared with me, which kind of opened my mind a little bit of storage. I rent a storage unit, I'm paying for the entire thing. A band is renting it, and there's 4 people in the band, they're splitting it 4 ways, right? So now it's 1/4 of the cost for each person. And they're like, oh my gosh, I get to use this for $50 a month? Like, oh, awesome, I'm in,
Yeah, we try and keep it under $100 per bandmate a month, because then that seems like doable.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Who do you reach out to if you want to join your camp?
Oh, just on Insta, at Camp Corny, and it's CAMPCORNY, like Camp Corny, because unicorns. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just DM the Insta, and applications open on Saturday, actually, for new campers. So
Great camp. Can't say enough good things.
Super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are our back street campers.
Oh, really?
2 years ago. I'm with Burners Without Borders.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's
You
right.
guys were like,
I know. We looked at your shipping container.
yeah.
Oh, cool. That's so cool.
Right on. Well, can we give Paul one more round of applause?
Thank you very much for having me.